wanted to change the title, and I wanted it to be specific. I wanted there to be like a specific chapter, a Pacific chapter regarding Exodus. I don't want us to be, I want to be able to come back to this if necessary. I want to be able to send people to this and say, okay, tell me what's wrong with it. So, the Exodus, notice how the page is locked, right? There is no editing this page. For all the crybabies, will hide behind that, first and foremost. Secondly, we are going to just do a quick little bit of proof, little bit of evidence here. So,
Moetzet, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to
learn
more about how...
So there you go, right? So the reason I show you that is because people just don't understand exactly what we're dealing with here. And when I'm using Wikipedia, not only am I using the #1 source of information in the world, I am, that was Naftali Bennett. That was the Prime Minister of Israel, former Prime Minister of Israel. At the time, he was the future Prime Minister, but now, today, he's the former Prime Minister. The former Prime Minister of Israel acknowledging that they control Wikipedia, that they teach the editors how to edit things so they can influence our perception, so that we have a Zionist perception, perspective of whatever narrative it may be. So now that we're talking about the Exodus, we know that this isn't some Guy Williams made up narrative, right? This is, I should do that, shouldn't I? This is the narrative that they want us to have. It's always been this way. That video was made in 2010. So, you know, they're teaching the editors how to say things the way Israel wants. And this isn't just some fly-by-night doofus. This is the future Prime Minister of Israel saying that. So, Exodus, we'll start over. The Exodus is the departure of Egypt, okay? The Exodus is the founding myth. I can't say that enough. It's the founding myth of the Israelites, whose narrative is spread over 4 of the 5 books of Pentateuch, specifically Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The narrative of the Exodus describes a history of Egyptian bondage of the Israelites, followed by their exodus from Egypt through a passage in the Red Sea in pursuit of the Promised Land under the leadership of Moses. This is just insane. What's up, Matt? Sure is taking people a long time to come back, boy. The story of the Exodus is central in Judaism. It is recounted daily in Jewish prayers and celebrated in festivals such as Passover. I have work at 11:35, but I'll stay till then. Right on, man. The bots moved on. Oh, they'll be here. Early Christians saw the Exodus as a typological prefiguration of resurrection and salvation by Jesus. Well, that's a weird thing, right? It's not what it says, though, right? The Exodus is also recounted in the Quran as part of the extensive referencing of the life of Moses, a major prophet in Islam. Because it's all the same bullshit given to us by the same fucking liars. 3 watchers, 2 likes, gotta love it. The narrative has also resonated with various groups in more recent centuries, such as among African Americans striving for freedom and civil rights, and in liberation theology. They love to attach themselves to shit, right? They don't want any of the negatives that come with it, but they want the narrative, the victim narrative. The consensus of modern scholars on the history of the Exodus is that the Pentateuch does not give an accurate account of the origins of the Israelites, who appear instead to have formed as an entity in the central highlands of Canaan in the late 2nd millennium BCE. In -2? Or wait, no. -2000, right? A millennium is 1,000 years, right? And so it would be like the late 2900s, I guess. Something weird. 3 and 3. We got 3 likes, 3 watchers. You would think that would kick the fucking system into high gear and be like, wow, this guy has 100%, like rate. We should be showing more people this. Strange, huh? Around the time of the late Bronze Age collapse, from the indigenous Canaanite culture, most modern scholars believe that some elements in the history of the Exodus might have some historical basis, but that any such basis has little resemblance to the story in the Pentateuch. While the majority of modern scholars date the composition of the Pentateuch to the period of the Achaemenid Empire, 5th century BCE, so -5, some of the elements of this narrative are older, since allusions to the story are made by 8th century, -8 BCE prophets such as Amos and Hosea. These are the only 2 that ever get mentioned. Ever. I can't watch the screen because I'm doing yard work. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Good job, Rob. All right, in the Bible, the Exodus tells a story of the enslavement of the Israelites, the plagues of Egypt, the departure of the Israelites from Egypt, the revelations at Mount Sinai, and the Israelite wanderings in the wilderness up to the borders of Canaan. Its message is that the Israelites were delivered from slavery by Yahweh, their God, and therefore belong to him by covenant. It's just such crazy, strange shit. So yet again, here's another picture. This is Israel in Egypt. Edward Pontier, 1867. Funny how so many of the paintings and shit that they refer to are in the 1800s, right? But this is what they say it looked like. So these people who were capable of creating all of the buildings and shit in the background, and if you look, I think there's the pyramid in the background and all that. They're also pulling things on big wooden wheels and shit. Like, the people that were capable of creating all of this stuff still hadn't figured out modern transportation. Amazing how that always works. Okay, so the narrative. The story of Exodus is told in the first half of Exodus, while the remainder recounting the first year in the wilderness is followed by a narrative of 39 more years in the books of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The last 4 of the 5 books of the Bible, also called the Torah or the Pentateuch. Why? Well, and the thing is about that picture, yeah, they're pulling it. How did they get it up on there? That must have been quite the task to get that giant fucking statue up on that thing. In the first book of the Pentateuch, the book of Genesis, the Israelites had come to live in Egypt in the land of Goshen during a famine under the protection of an Israelite, Joseph, who had become a high official in the court of the Egyptian Pharaoh. How? Yada yada. Yada yada. It's just some yada yada. We don't ever get the hows. We're going to get a whole bunch of details about shit that doesn't matter, but how things went down and, you know, what the actual process was, we never get to know that stuff. Exodus begins with the death of Joseph and the ascension of a new Pharaoh who did not know Joseph, Exodus 1:8. The Pharaoh becomes concerned by the number and strength of the Israelites in Egypt and enslaves them, commanding them to build 2 supply or store cities called Pithom and Ramses, Exodus 1:11. So he's concerned about their strength and numbers and enslaves them somehow. Just think about that. If your strength and your numbers is so much that the leader is concerned about you, then how does he even enslave you to begin with? And back then, it's not like one group had F-35 fighter jets and tanks and all that shit, while the other group just had rocks and sticks, like it is today. They all had rocks and sticks and bow and arrows and shit. You know, where was the superiority at? The Pharaoh becomes concerned. The Pharaoh also orders the slaughter at birth of all male Hebrew children. One Hebrew child, however, is rescued and abandoned in a floating basket in the Nile. That's a similar story. He is found and adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, who names him Moses. Grown to a young man, Moses kills an Egyptian he sees beating a Hebrew slave and takes refuge in the land of Midian, where he marries to Zipporah, T-Z-I-P-P-O-R-A, to Zipporah, I don't know, a daughter of the Midianite priest Jethro. Just think about, like, why do we know this? Who was taking all of these notes back then? Who was writing down the conversations that took place? Because this is a summary. I guarantee in the Bible, it's more hashed out, and they talk about, and he said this, and then he said that. How does anyone know? Who was writing it down? The old Pharaoh dies, and a new one ascends to the throne. So we got that again. According to Ezekiel 28:9, the enslaved Israelites also practiced abominations and worshiped the gods of Egypt. This provoked Yahweh to destroy them, but he relented to avoid his name being profaned. Oh, why anybody believes this is just beyond me. Meanwhile, Moses goes to Mount Horeb, where Yahweh appears in a burning bush and commands him to go to Egypt to free the Hebrew slaves and bring them to the promised land in Canaan. So much of the Bible consists of somebody supposedly having a vision or being visited by God, and it's always only Jews. Only Jews get visited by God. Usually it's because they build the altar. They somehow have the ability to build the phone booth that allows them to talk to God. Nobody else has that power. But it always comes down to somebody having an experience and then coming and telling another group of people, hey, God said I'm now in charge of all this. And everybody's supposed to be like, oh, okay, cool. I guess so. Yeah? Yahweh also speaks to Moses' brother Aaron, and the two assemble the Israelites and perform miraculous signs to arouse their belief in Yahweh's promise. Love to know what that shit is. We're just going to yada yada over that part, huh? I mean, just think about it. This man is supposedly wanted. He's hiding out in this town. He then goes to a different place, back to the place where he's wanted, him and his brother, and they figure out how to get to the Israelites, like all of them again. Were they all there? What did he have, like some sort of traveling minstrel show or something? Did he, everybody come around and check out what I can do. I talked to God. He was in a burning bush and he told me I need to, I mean, come on. How stupid is that? Moses and Aaron then go to Pharaoh, not the Pharaoh, to Pharaoh, and ask him to let the Israelites go into the desert for a religious festival. But he refuses and increases their workload, commanding them to make bricks without straw. Well, that's going to make the bricks really weak. That wouldn't make much sense. The straw is one of the main binders of brick. But this is what they always sort of push on us. This is like how after October 7th's false flag, where no Israelis were killed and none were taken hostage, supposedly the Hamas offered to release all of the hostages if Israel would just stop bombing them indiscriminately, dropping bombs everywhere, not knowing where hostages are. They're dropping bombs all over the place. And Israel's response is not, okay, cool, you can do that. Israel's response was, you don't tell us what to do, and they dropped more bombs. They increased the bomb load. So that's what happened here, right? They were like, can we please go to a festival? We're just going to a festival out in the desert. And Pharaoh's like, I'm the Pharaoh, so I would know if there's a festival in the desert. But no, all 2 million of you can't go. I am in control of you. Moses and Aaron returned to Pharaoh and asked him to free the Israelites and let them depart. Boy, it's amazing that Pharaoh just keeps letting them live, especially since he was wanted to begin with. Pharaoh demands Moses perform a miracle, and Aaron throws down Moses' staff, which turns into a Tanian, a sea monster or snake. However, Pharaoh's magicians are also able to do this. Though Moses' serpent devours the others, Pharaoh refuses to let the Israelites go. So what magic were we capable of back then? That this wasn't even an overwhelmingly shocking thing. Like, yeah, my guys can do that too. Staff and the snake. Boom. There it is. See? We did that. Yeah, but mine ate yours. After this, Yahweh inflicts a series of plagues on the Egyptians. Each time Moses repeats his demand and Pharaoh refuses to release the Israelites. So here, God is very much a part of things, apparently. Right? Like we always say, God is this hands-off thing. But back then, instead of just dinking Pharaoh to change his mind, like God could easily do, right? God has appeared. Why didn't Yahweh just appear to Pharaoh and be like, I am the Yahweh. You've gotten it all wrong. Look at me. I am just appeared before you and I'm burning in a bush here. Look at this. What's going on? Why didn't Yahweh do that? Instead, he inflicts plagues on the people. They're not the ones that make the decision. Pharaoh does. But God is going to kill all of the Goyim to appease the Jews, as always. Isn't that weird? Like, isn't this strange? Okay. Pharaoh's magicians are able to match the first plagues, in which Yahweh turns the Nile to blood and produces a plague of frogs. So the magicians back then could also make the Nile and other rivers turn to blood and make frogs rain from the sky? It's like, this is so goofy. But cannot match any plagues, starting with the third, the plague of gnats. I wonder what that is. After each plague, Pharaoh asked the Israelites to worship Yahweh to remove the plague. Then still he refuses to free them. What sense would that make? Seriously. At this point, you're seeing all this crazy shit. There's plagues happening. Sure, he has a bunch of other slaves, right? But he just, no, I'm going to keep this one because they're so victimized. We gotta keep the victim narrative going. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, sub, help out. Obviously, we're being shut down pretty hardcore right now. 9 watchers, 4 likes. That makes sense. Moses is commanded to fix the first month of Avi at the end of the Hebrew calendar. He's to fix it. He instructs the Israelites to take a lamb on, oh, this is the best. To take a lamb on the 10th day and on the 14th day to slaughter it and daub its blood on their doorposts and lintels, and to observe the Passover meal that night, the night of the full moon. Well, but there wasn't a full moon on the 10th and the 14th, was there? Or was this after they had slept? And again, to think that, like, okay, so they say it's 2 million people, 600,000 men, and then their wives and children and whatnot. So at the very least, you're talking about 600,000 or so houses. Let's just say it's half of that, 300,000 houses. How much blood can a lamb produce that you can slaughter it and then wipe their blood over the top of your door, because that's what it, the area around the door or whatever, you wipe the blood over. That's what Passover is all about. The wiping of the blood over the door, so that when the angel comes, the angel of death comes to take out, to bring about this final plague, he looks for the blood that's over the door, and if he sees the blood, then he skips over your house. That's this narrative, right? Think about how fucking insane this is. At the doorposts and lintels. Yahweh sends an angel to each house to kill the firstborn son and firstborn cattle, but the houses of the Israelites are spared by the blood on their doorpost. This is so sick. It's just so disgusting. And when you realize, like, this is the foundation of the people committing genocide right now, is it really that surprising? Yahweh commands the Israelites to commemorate this event in a perpetual ordinance. That's Passover. And it's interesting because generally Passover is when the most blood is spilled each year. There's always some sort of operation or some sort of something that happens during Passover in Israel, where blood is spilled all over the land. And you think, again, look at the foundation of it. Look where it comes from. Is it really that surprising? It's not like they can go kill a lamb and then spread the blood on the doorway. That would look really weird in nowadays times. But killing a bunch of fucking innocent civilians, that's okay. We don't think of that as weird. Can you imagine the outcry if it was like this worldwide event where, they sacrificed this lamb on, and yeah, we killed the lamb. You know how much fucking outrage there would be over that shit? Pharaoh finally cast the Israelites out of Egypt. So he's not like, I'm not doing it because you want me to. I'm doing it because I want to. cast the Israelites out of Egypt after his firstborn son is killed. Because at that same day, everybody had their firstborn sons, and never mind if they were 30 or whatever, they were all still killed. Yahweh leads the Israelites in the form of a pillar of cloud in the day and a pillar of fire at night. So the Israelites are walking day and night. Again, can you imagine that? Oh my God, my feet hurt so much. Why are we walking day and night? Can't we take a rest here? How many days and nights did they walk in a row? However, once the Israelites have left, Yahweh hardens Pharaoh's heart to change his mind and pursue the Israelites to the shore of the Red Sea. Why would their God have done that? If he let them go, why would Yahweh then harden his heart so that he comes and chases them down? That's fucking stupid. Moses uses his staff to part the Red Sea, and the Israelites cross on dry ground. But the sea closes on the pursuing Egyptians, drowning them all. Here's a picture of it. This is from a 1907 print. Again, interesting how none of these pictures are from like the 1200s and shit. The 600s. Here's a painting from 600 that shows this depiction. Almost like this story didn't exist yet. The Israelites began to complain. Oh, that's fantastic. And Yahweh miraculously provided them with food and water. Again, it's like somebody like me heard the story and was like, well, how the fuck were they eating? When did they eat? How did they, this is 2 million people being led away both day and night. So it's not like they had the time to hunt the hundreds of animals it would take to feed them. But in order to cover for that, it's that Yahweh just miraculously provided it to them. Oh, well then that makes sense now, right? That just makes sense now. Can someone please tell me the point of this? I've been watching the whole time and I can't figure out what he's doing. Is he just like making up a story? I don't get it. What's going on here? Water and food, eventually raining manna down for them to eat. Oh shit, some fell on the ground. It's the desert. Oh well. God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. What is manna? Let's see what manna is. It actually is blue, so let's see what it says. Manna, sometimes or archaically spelled different way, is described in the Bible and the Quran as an edible substance that God bestowed upon the Israelites while they were wandering the desert during the 40-year period that followed the Exodus and preceded the conquest of Canaan. It's a substance. In the Hebrew Bible, manna is described twice. Once in Exodus, with the full narrative surrounding it, and once again in Numbers as part of a separate narrative. In the description in the book of Exodus, manna is described as being a fine, flake-like thing, like the frost on the ground. Ew! Can you imagine that's all you ate for 40 fucking years? Some frosting on the ground covered in sand? It is described in the book of Numbers as arriving with the dew during the night. Ew! So now it's like a pasty substance, right? Because it's dew mixing with it. Exodus adds that it had to be collected before it was melted by the heat of the sun, and that it was like a coriander seed in size, but white in color. It had to be melted by the sun? So what manna-like shade did God provide them in the desert heat that was so hot it could melt the manna, but didn't kill the people who were lost in it? Numbers describes it as having the appearance of bdellium. Bdellium is a semi-transparent oleogem resin extracted from Commiphora wighiti plants and from Commiphora africana trees growing in sub-Sahara Africa. According to Pliny the Elder, the best quality came from bacteria. Other named sources for the resin are India, Pakistan, Arabia, Media, and Babylon. So this is the exact opposite of what they said manna looked like. That looks like some yuck. So they're either eating that or they're eating a flake-like substance that was like the frosting on the ground that arrived with the dew. And again, this is the same manna that was given to all the animals in Noah's Ark, I guess. Adding that the Israelites ground it and pounded it into cakes, which were then baked, resulting in something that tasted like cakes baked with oil. For 40 fucking years, that's what they ate. Exodus states that raw manna tasted like water, like wafers that had been made with honey. The Israelites were instructed to eat only the manna they had gathered for each day. Stored manna bred worms and stank. The exception being that stored the day before the Sabbath, preparation day, when twice the amount of manna was gathered. This manna did not spoil overnight. Again, it seems like it's one of these stories where somebody was reading it and then somebody else was like, hey, well, what about this? And they were like, oh, okay. Did this. Okay, la, la, la. Okay, yeah, but what about that? Ah, fuck. Okay. You know, why didn't? How much did they collect each night? How did that work? I mean, who was collecting the manna? I don't understand. If they're wandering around, what are they? What setup do they have to bake these cakes and shit like that? And then again, this asshole God that makes this substance form, he's making them, they live in the desert for 40 years, hot as fuck during the day, cold as fuck at night, and every day they have to go find this substance that's all sticky and shit on the ground. They can't keep it, and, you know, except for on the Sabbath, when, you know, the day before they're not supposed to do anything. So they get to collect, well, the women, I guess, get to collect double the amount of manna that is just sitting on the ground. I leave these stupid ass comments on here because it just shows you how stupid these people are, how desperate they are to try to get you guys to not hear what's being said and us to have the conversation. You would think at the very least all of these dumbass Christians would be like, hey, he's reading it. let's just let it go. And then anytime I say something wrong, they would jump in and say so. But that's not how this works. All right, so this was the Lord this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is the day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. So they saved it until morning, as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Quranic narrative. The word manna appears 3 times in the Quran. It is narrated in blah, blah, blah. Truffles are part of the manna which God sent to the people of Israel through Moses, and its juice is the medicine for the eye. What? This is fucking insane. Am I still on the manna page? Oh, I'm still on the manna page. Okay, let's go back. The Amalekites attack the Rephidim, but are defeated. Literally, this goes, the Israelites began to complain, and Yahweh miraculously provides them with water and food, eventually raining manna down for them to eat. The Amalekites attack the Rephidim, but are defeated. What transition is that? Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, convinces him to appoint judges for the tribes of Israel. The Israelites reach the Sinai desert, and Yahweh calls Moses to Mount Sinai, where Yahweh reveals himself to his people and establishes the 10 Commandments and Mosaic covenant. The Israelites are to keep his Torah, law instruction, and Yahweh promises them the land of Canaan. Again, imagine these people come walking up to the town. Yes, we've been wandering around the desert for 40 years. Oh, it's been so hot. But hey, our God promised us this land, so you gotta get out, okay? Sorry. Oh, shit, okay, God said so, huh? Yahweh establishes the Aaronic priesthood and detailed rules for ritual worship among other laws. However, in Moses' absence, the Israelites sin against Yahweh by creating the idol of a golden calf. For what? For what? As punishment, Yahweh has the Levites, has the Levites kill 3,000 of the Israelites. Man, that's such a great God. Don't you guys like that God? Don't you understand why so many people worship that God? What? Wait, what? You made a golden calf? Oh, I'm killing 3,000 of you guys. Fuck that. How dare you make a golden calf? Because gold was so prominent, they could just make a big giant calf out of it. And now they're worshiping a cow, apparently. Oh man, what a weird bunch of shit. Oh Jesus. Right. You asked for it. Think about it. Like there is somebody on here that I'm reading this, and what they keep bringing up is butt sex. Because they're the good ones. They're just going to keep repeating a term associated with butt sex because of this, right? Because I'm reading, like, who the fuck does that make sense to? This is one of those profiles, those fake profiles, been signed up for 12 years, has two subscribers, and is here every day begging for attention. What sense does that make? And they'll probably make another profile to do the same thing. Like, I won't just block that one. But then again, how many of you have that ability? You just make multiple profile after multiple profile so you can watch someone that blocks you. Is that what you guys do? Zhao, what's up? As punishment, kills 3,000. And Yahweh sends a plague on them. The Israelites now accept the covenant, which is reestablished. They build a tabernacle for Yahweh and receive their laws. Yahweh commands Moses to take a census of the Israelites and establish the duties of the Levites. Levites. I don't know. Then the Israelites depart from Mount Sinai. Yahweh commands Moses to send 12 spies ahead to Canaan to scout the land. The spies discover that the Canaanites are formidable, and to dissuade the Israelites from invading, the spies falsely report that Canaan is full of giants. Oh, good thing it's falsely, because people would start to think maybe giants existed. The Israelites refuse to go to Canaan, and Yahweh declares that the generation that left Egypt will have to pass away before the Israelites can enter the promised land. What? Dude, the guy that is a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fucking fire that's raining down manna food and allowing you to survive for all this time, like what? Wait, no, we haven't gone through 40 years yet. Is that what that is? I don't really know. I haven't figured this part out yet. No, it was. It was the 40 years. Now this guy's telling you go there and you're not going to go there because somebody said there's giants. Well, what if Yahweh's just like, no, I gotcha. I'll give you a machine gun. The Israelites refuse to go. The Israelites will have to remain in the wilderness for 40 years. Okay. So by this point, so they haven't done the 40 years yet. And they're in the wilderness? Like what wilderness are we talking about in that area? That's not a very wilderness-like area. So the manna that they were provided wasn't for the 40 years. Now they just survive on the somehow. Okay. And Yahweh kills the spies through a plague, except for the righteous Joshua and Caleb, who will be allowed to enter the promised land. A group of Israelites led by Korah, son of Izhar, rebels against Moses, but Yahweh opens the earth, Jesus Christ, and sends them living to Sheol, and sends them living to Sheol. The Israelites come to the oasis of Kadesh Barnea, where Miriam dies, and the Israelites remain for 19 years. To provide water, Yahweh commands Moses to get water from a rock by speaking to it, but Moses instead strikes the rock with his staff, for which Yahweh forbids him from entering the promised land. Oh man, this is so fucking goofy. Seriously, I think people always, have you read the Bible? Well, have you read it? How do you know it's true if you've never read it? Yada, yada, yada. And it's like, so you read this and this seems reasonable to you? You think that Yahweh commands Moses to get water from a stone by speaking to it, but Yahweh's not going to listen.
Electricity. No, it's the tariffs that they just put on the electricity from Canada. Like I said, it's give me your, do you have your plate?
No, I'll take it with
It's
me.
falling apart.
Oh.
Literally.
So what's up? What's up? Yeah, what's up? What's up? What's up with?
Yeah, no, this just happened.
So you gotta wait.
It'll probably be on the next bill that's even higher. Yep. So Michigan, Minnesota, and New York are about to get killed with electricity. Well, bills.
Yeah, well, we should do what the Jews did and invoke Yahweh to keep us protected.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading Exodus, and
Yeah.
oh my God, this is dumb.
I know.
No, you don't.
No, I do know.
I don't think you do.
I do.
I think even if
I
you,
have heard so many different passages from the Bible.
I know you've heard them, but I'm not
And
even
I've
reading.
read them.
I'm not even reading the Bible. I'm reading the Wikipedia summarization of it.
Oh.
And
that's lovely.
well, I mean, it's the Israelite version of it. It's what they want us to know.
Yeah.
And to hear what's being said is just, you know, in order to get water while they were wandering around for 40 years, Yahweh commanded Moses to speak to a rock to get water from it. But Moses didn't listen and struck the rock with his stone, which made Yahweh mad and said he's not allowed in the promised land now. Like, this is so stupid. It's embarrassing that anybody believes this shit. How? How are you with...
Most of them don't read it. They go to church, they listen to what the pastor or the priest tells them,
Or the rabbi.
or the rabbi, and that's their extent of the knowledge.
Yeah, but they only listen to the parts they want. Like, let's just say you were super gay and you wanted to be a Christian anyway. You just have to skip over all that God hates you part, right? But do you want to believe the rest of it? Like, it's so stupid.
Be nice.
It's so stupid. I don't understand how anybody with a half a fucking brain cell doesn't read this or hear this shit and go, oh, come on, that's stupid. You know, like, it's not even a good story. It's not even, it rained down manna, which, based on the two different descriptions, is two completely different things. How the fuck did they, the sticky substance that well, it rained down
out of the sky.
Well, it some says it rained down, and then
Manna rained down from the heaven.
another version says it formed with the dew in the morning. So one version says it's a white flake-like substance that is similar to like
Oatmeal or something.
no, like a white flaky substance that you could use to make like cakes and shit, like a flour almost. But if that arrives with the dew on the ground, and then you have to go pick it up off that desert sand.
Oh, that was probably tasty.
And then the other stuff is like, the other description is, and now it's a resin, like a resiny type material that's sticky and brown and golden. Like, wait, which one is it? It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid.
I agree. Was he talking about dinner already?
Moses sends a messenger to the king of Edom, requesting passage through his land of Canaan, but the king refuses. Oh, another story where they refuse what they want, and they're just the victims, the perpetual victims. All they wanted to do was pass through, all 2 million of them. But they were denied their passage. This is embarrassing. It's seriously, like, can you imagine an adult trying to seriously describe to you the North Pole and Santa and his helpers and his elves? It's all the same level of stupid. The Israelites then go to Mount Hor, where Aaron dies. The Israelites try to go around Edom, but the Israelites complain about the lack of bread and water, so Yahweh sends them a plague of poisonous snakes to afflict them. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Yahweh sounds like an absolute dickhead. Like an abusive douchebag. After Moses prays for deliverance, Yahweh has him create a brazen serpent, and the Israelites who look at it are cured. Is a bronze image of a serpent on a pole. So instead of just making everybody okay, they have to look at the bronze serpent and then they'll be okay. What? How does that have any difference in power? It's like a middleman. What? Come on. I'm calling Bill. Have a great day. The Israelites are soon... We're reading about Exodus today. That was a great response. She said, oh. That was her like knee-jerk reaction. Oh. All right. So again, how does it make more sense or any sense that if you look at the serpent that was created on the end of this pole, then you'll be healed? But Yahweh doesn't just heal those like beep, beep, binkle, binkle, bink. And it's amazing how like interested Yahweh is at this time. Yahweh is just a perpetual figure. Like is he there, or is this just Moses is talking to him long distance and shit, and nobody else gets to talk? How does this work? See, this is where I would love to have some rabbi, some religious scholar come in and actually try to explain any of this. Because it's a reference to Jesus. Oh, is it? What part of this is about Jesus? You know this is from the same books, right? This is the same stories, right? I don't think Jesus has happened yet. The Israelites are soon in conflict with various other kingdoms. The king of Balak of Moab asked the seer Balaam to cure the Israelites. So if Moab, that's one of the sons of the hot, sexy union between Lot and his daughters, right? That's who Moab is. Which is just, I mean, again, he's the product of incest. In the story that's supposedly about how bad gay people are, they sure do like incest in that story. But to cure the Israelites, but Balaam blesses them instead. Okay. Some Israelites begin having sexual relations with Moabite women and worshiping Moabite gods. So, you know what that means. Yahweh orders Moses to impale the idolaters and sends another plague. Oh man, what an asshole. What an asshole. The full extent of Yahweh's wrath is averted when Phinehas, P-H-I-N-E-H-A-S. How would you say that?
What?
P-H-I-N-E-H-A-S. How would you say that? Phinehas. When Phinehas impales an Israelite and a Midianite woman having intercourse. Oh shit. So the women are scissoring somehow. And Phinehas finds them and impales them. And this pleases Yahweh so much that he doesn't bring his full wrath upon the people for having sex with the Moabites and worshiping Moabite gods. What an asshole. Yahweh commands the Israelites to destroy the Midianites, the Midianites, I don't know how you say it. And Moses and Phinehas take another census. All right. They then conquer the land of Og, Og, and Shihan in Transjordan. Ooh, Transjordan. That's not good. Settling the Gadites, Reubenites, and half of the tribe of Manasseh there. Moses then addresses the Israelites for a final time on the banks of the Jordan River, reviewing their travels and giving them further laws. Yahweh tells Moses to summon Joshua to lead the conquest of Canaan. Yahweh tells Moses to ascend Mount Nebo, from where he sees the promised land and dies. Bum, 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 bum. Sounds like MLK to me. Jesus, that's a very MLK-ish story. I have seen the promised land. I might not make it there with you, but blah, blah, blah. The climax of the covenant and law, the climax of the Exodus is the covenant binding legal agreement. It's a binding legal agreement between God and the Israelites, mediated by Moses at Sinai. Yahweh. So is this is not God, or is this a different? What is this? Yahweh will protect the Israelites as his chosen people for all time, and the Israelites will keep Yahweh's laws and worship only him. What an insecure fuck. You can only worship me. If you don't, I'll bring a... If some of you don't, then I'll bring a plague upon all of you. Well, back then. Now nothing happens. Now there is no Yahweh coming down, talking, blah, blah, blah. The covenant is described in stages. At Exodus 24:3-8, the Israelites agree to abide by the book of the covenant that Moses has just read them. Shortly afterwards, God writes the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments, on stone tablets. And finally, as the people gather in Moab to cross into the promised land of Canaan, Moses reveals Yahweh's new covenant beside the covenant he made with them at Horeb. Man, he is just a dick. Like, I thought he already gave us the laws. Now he's doing it again. What the fuck? The laws are set out in a number of codes. The ethical decalogue, or 10 Commandments, the Book of the Covenant, ritual decalogue, the ritual laws of Leviticus and Numbers, Leviticus 1:6 and Numbers 1:10, the holiness code, Leviticus 17:26, Deuteronomical code, Deuteronomy 12:26. Origins and historicity. There are two main positions on the historicity of... They're the historicity, I don't know. No, it's historicity of the Exodus in modern scholarship. The majority position is that the biblical Exodus narrative has some historical bias or basis, although there is little of historical fact in it. How often do you hear that part? All the people that want to bring up, oh, well, scholars say, and Isaac Newton and dumb shit like that. Well, this is saying, according to the majority position in the scholastic fucking world, they're like, obviously this isn't fucking true, you dumbasses. Come on. Mana? This asshole Yahweh just killing people left and right? Only talks to Moses? It's like some Fight Club bullshit, right? Moses is like, you guys don't want to upset Yahweh. They're like, does he not know he's Yahweh? He's the one that keeps killing everybody? But there's little of historical fact in it. The other position, often associated with the school of biblical minimalism, is that the Bible exudes, or the biblical Exodus traditions are the invention of the exilic and post-exilic Jewish community with little to no historical basis. So, according to everybody that's not Jewish or Israelite, it's fake. It's a fake story. Like, this is just so fucking crazy. And you would think anybody that claims to be biblical Christian, you know, I doubt there's any people that are going to acknowledge being Jewish here, but none of these people are coming in here to defend what their shit says. None of these people are coming in here to be like, no, 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 it's this, no, it's that. Or even acknowledging how insane they've been tricked into thinking is. This is insanity. Literally, this is, they say it's central to Judaism. This is like one of the main stories of Judaism. This is one of the main, you know, narratives, basis. This is why these people are literally committing genocide right now, because they believe themselves to be superior based on these bullshit narratives. And you don't see what the problem is with this? The biblical Exodus narrative is best understood as a founding myth of the Jewish people, providing an ideological foundation for their culture and institutions, not an accurate depiction of the history of the Israelites. So it's basically like all of the stuff that they do that's really fucked up, that they then say, well, it's justified because of the Bible and stuff. That's what they're saying. This narrative and all of these narratives are fake narratives that they use to justify the horrible, horrible shit that they do. And it's not at all historical. In fact, there's no historical fact to any of it. That's fucking nuts, man. The view that the biblical narrative is essentially correct unless it can be explained, explicitly proven wrong, biblical maximalism is today held by few, if any, in mainstream scholarship, only on the more fundamentalist fringes. It can be that it's essentially correct unless it can be explicitly proven wrong. I mean, the only way you could explicitly prove it wrong is if you went back in time and looked. Okay, so yep, I can see that this is happening. I'm at the Red Sea. When is this shit supposed to be happening? Come on now. Waiting on the Israelites. There is no direct evidence for any of the people or events of Exodus in non-biblical ancient texts or in archaeological remains, and this has led most scholars to omit the Exodus events from the comprehensive histories of Israel. This is what I keep trying to tell you. Their narrative appears in the late 18s, early 1900s. That's why Hebrew is invented in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then what they did, because they control so much of the narrative, and if you look at Hollywoodism and you see how they acknowledge that they used Hollywood to craft the America they wanted to live in, essentially, you could say that the American dream is the Jewish dream. Right? Just like how they did that, you have guys like Robert Maxwell, who went to great lengths. That's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, who was actually buddies with Epstein, apparently. But that's why you have guys like him who bought up all of the publishing houses and all of the academic publishing houses and whatnot, so that they could institute their narrative and ingratiate it into our society so that we think it's something more real than it is. It's not. So much of the supposed Jewish history is basically like 1830, 40, and after that. If you even believe that shit. You know, because so much of that shit just don't make no sense. But they're flat out telling you this is Exodus is like essential to the to Judaism, essential to their fundamental beliefs, and it's not real. It's fake. So again, why should we accommodate something that is not only just atrocious in what they do, but fake? It's not based on anything real. The fuck is that? Most mainstream scholars do not accept the biblical Exodus account as history for a number of reasons. Most agree that the Exodus stories were written centuries after the apparent setting of the stories, again, which is pretty telling. Scholars argue that the book of Exodus itself attempts to ground the event firmly in history, reconstructing a date for the Exodus as the 2666th year. 666 year after creation. The 2666th year after creation. When was creation? The construction of the tabernacle to the year 2667 in their shit. Because remember, it's like the year 5000 or something according to Israel and the Hasidic Jews. Stating that the Israelites dwelled in Egypt for 430 years and specifying place names such as Goshen, Pithom, and Ramses, as well as the count of 600,000 Israelite men. They're saying this is all just bullshit. The book of Numbers further states that the number of Israelite males aged 20 and older in the desert during the wandering was 603,550, which works out to a total population of 2.53 million, including women and children, far more that could be supported by the Sinai desert. So it's just common sense. Like, I'm not even making arguments that are super far-fetched. This is just common sense. I didn't even know that it was like this. But that's what they're saying. The geography is vague, with regions such as Goshen unidentified. And there are internal problems with dating in the Pentateuch. No modern attempt to identify a historical Egyptian as a prototype for Moses has found wide acceptance, and no period in Egyptian history matches the biblical accounts of the Exodus, which I always thought was weird, right? Because you have these pharaoh stories, and you have these pyramids being built, and all this great shit that's supposedly happening in the exact same area, and they're not talking about Moses and Jesus and all this other shit. That's not what the hieroglyphs tell us, and the hieroglyphs are at least in stone. With the technology we clearly aren't capable of doing in that sort of, in that sort of way, and we have the modern stuff. So these ancient peoples that somehow put this in stone and put a whole bunch of crazy shit in stone. Like, all those hieroglyphs say all kinds of crazy shit that we're just not given. And who knows how much like awesome, magical, fucking you can do it type shit exists in those narratives. We just don't get given those. Instead, we get given shit like this dumbass nonsense, which just clearly isn't real. All right, let's see here. Some elements of the story are miraculous and defy rational explanation, such as the plagues of Egypt and the crossing of the Red Sea, which I did just go right over, you know, that somehow the Red Sea just split in half and they just walked across it. And the Egyptians did the same thing but got swallowed up, and then there's no Egyptian record of any of that ever happening. The Bible does not mention the names of any of the pharaohs involved, further obscuring comparison with archaeologically recovered Egyptian history with the biblical narrative. And that's just if you believe the history that you're given, the official side of history that you're given, just like the fake side of it, that they don't even match. Like, I'm not saying I believe the narrative we're given, but the narrative we're given doesn't even justify this other narrative we're given. While ancient Egyptian texts from the New Kingdom mention Asiatics living in Egypt as slaves and workers, these people cannot be securely connected to the Israelites, and no contemporary Egyptian text mentions a large-scale exodus of slaves like that described in the Bible. The earliest surviving historical mention of the Israelites, the Egyptian Merneptah still, 1207 BCE, minus 1207, appears to place them in or around Canaan and gives no indication of any exodus. Archaeologist Israel Finkelstein his name is Israel Finkelstein argues, like, you can't say that this guy has a biased opinion, argues from his his analysis of the initiatory lists of the books of Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy that the biblical account represents a long-term cultural memory spanning the 16th to 10th centuries BCE rather than a specific event. The beginning is vague and now untraceable. Instead, modern archaeology suggests continuity between Canaanite and Israelite settlement, indicating a primary Canaanite origin for Israel, with no suggestion that a group of foreigners from Egypt compromised early Israel. It's fucking insane. This is just stupid, man. Despite the absence of any archaeological evidence, according to Avram Faust, most scholars agree that the narrative has historical core, made up of a probable reconstruction of an exodus based on similar collective memories, with biblical scholar Kenton Sparks referring to it as a mythologized history. Mythologized history, sorry. What? Faust specifies that the result of his assessment is unlikely if it is solely based on either Egyptian presence in late Bronze Age Canaan or the foreign Hyksos, rulers of Egypt, and rules out Midian human activity, which cannot help the dating the Exodus in identification with the Proto-Israelites, agreeing in treating the expulsion of the Hyksos, Hyksos, not as related to the flight of a group of slaves. Manfred Bittek points out that the portrayal of the Hyksos as a ruling elite with a background in trade and seafaring conflicts with the biblical portrayal of the Israelites as opposed in Egypt, or as oppressed in Egypt. Most scholars posit that a small group of Egyptian origin may have joined the early Israelites contributed their own Egyptian Exodus story to all of Israel. William G. Denver cautiously identifies this group with the tribe of Joseph while Richard Elliott Friedman identifies it with the tribe of Levi, showing you that it's all just bullshit. Seriously. Most scholars who accept Faust's definition of a historical core date possible Exodus group activity to the 13th century BCE at the time of Ramses II, 19th dynasty, with some instead dating it to the 12th century BCE under Ramses III, 20th century, or 20th dynasty. Evidence in favor of historical traditions forming a background to the Exodus myth include the documented movements of small groups of ancient Semitic-speaking peoples into and out of Egypt during the 18th and 19th dynasties. Some elements of Egyptian folklore and culture mentioned in the Exodus narrative, and the names Moses, Aaron, and Phinehas, which seem to have an Egyptian origin. Scholarly estimates for how many could have been involved in such an exodus range from a few hundred to a few thousand people. Joel S. Baden noted the presence of Semitic-speaking slaves in Egypt who sometimes escaped in small numbers as potential inspirations for the Exodus. Right, because they're the only Semitic-speaking people with their language that disappeared. It is literally the newest language on the planet. How come nobody else has done that? Think about what an undertaking that would be to create a new language and then get a whole fucking ton of people speaking it. Nothing even close to similar has happened like that. It is also possible that oppressive Egyptian rule of Canaan during the late 2nd millennium BCE, during the 19th and especially the 20th dynasty, may have disposed some native Canaanites to adopt into their own mythology the Exodus story of a small group of Egyptian refugees. It's all just so stupid. And the idea that we would have it, that we would... So we're saying that what? Pieces of paper survived 5,000 years or so? All of the wars, the floods, the this, the that, just the time itself. They were just kept in a jar. So it was sealed. It was a very, very well-made jar. Nadav Naaman argues that oppressive Egyptian rule of Canaan may have inspired the Exodus narrative, forming a collective memory of Egyptian oppression that was transferred from Canaan to Egypt itself in the popular consciousness. The 17th dynasty expulsion of the Hyksos, a group of Semitic invaders, is also frequently discussed as a potential historical parallel or origin for the story. Many other scholars reject this view and instead see the biblical Exodus traditions as the invention of the exilic and post-exilic Jewish community with little to no historical basis. Lester Grable, for example, argues that there is no compelling reason that the Exodus has been rooted in history, and that the details of the story more closely fit the 7th through the 5th centuries BCE than the traditional dating to the 2nd millennium BCE. Some scholars also hold that the Israelites' origin in Canaan and from the Canaanites, although others disagree. Some hold that the Israelites originated in Canaan. And Philip R. Davies suggests that the story may have been inspired by the return to Israel of the Israelites and Judeans who were placed in Egypt as garrison troops by the Assyrians in the 5th and 6th century BCE during the exile. Wow. That is some goofy shit, man. That is some fucking goofy shit. God, I would love to hear from any of them. Right? Where are they? They clearly have no pride in what they believe. Because you know a lot of them are here. They're just talking dumb shit. Submarines. We care about your belief in submarines, just not enough to watch your videos on it. So stupid. This is literally one of the main components as to why a genocide is taking place right now. Like, this is just crazy. This is just fucking crazy. And you know the thing is, what I just read you, and how unbelievable and far-fetched the narrative is, it's the same thing that happens when you look up the history of submarines. You're going to find a whole bunch of shit where you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was 1850. How did you build a submarine that could go underwater for 3 hours, be 100 feet deep, and open up a hatch underneath so you could harvest oysters and shit? How did you guys even see that deep? 150 feet, there's very, very little fucking light that penetrates that deep. On the clearest of ocean days. But hey, you know, they were doing it in 1850. They did it. It's awesome. I mean, it's all that way. All of our history is written that way. I told my wife that they removed the whole history of the suspension bridge. And she was like, what the fuck? You know, she was there when I read it. It was another one of these things where she was like, you're wrong. Don't do this. You're going to make yourself look stupid. And I was like, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Anyway, I can't put anything in the description today. It's one of those days where it won't let me edit it until after it's uploaded. So you'll have to go to previous uploads to see the link to the website, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free. All we ask is that you share it with someone. You know, we do appreciate everybody that has donated, but you don't have to. It'll ask you how much you want to pay, and you just put 0. Or you can donate. Either way, it's awesome. All we ask is that you share it. Go get your free download. I'm going to give you a link to the movie Hollywoodism, which is the most important film ever made. Fuck. It explains everything. It really does explain everything we're talking about and why we think the way we do. And the best part is, it's not a movie, a conspiracy movie, a loose change, an Obama deception, or something like that. It's not like that. This is a flex. This is a movie they made to flex how great they are. So go watch it. If anything, you can watch it and tell me what I'm getting wrong. I'm also going to leave you with 3 links to our Facebook page. 3 of our videos for the songs COVID Sauce, Donald Trump Hates America, and Sleight of Hand Job, our newest one. Sleight of Hand Job, I don't like the level that the vocals were recorded. I don't know why I couldn't get the vocals to sound quite right on that one. But it is what it is. That's what happens when you're working 8,000 miles apart and you've never actually met and blah, blah, blah. But we have tons of videos and tons of songs. Go get it. It's all free. Go check the shit out. Go help. Do something. Like, share, sub this, like, share, sub that. Help out. There's only one way that we get the answers to all of the things that we want to know. Earth shape, truth about God, truth about history, truth about vaccines, truth about all of it, is if we Goyim unify and overthrow the Jays that control our narrative. So those of you watching this much later, you can go to the description and get the links. Those of you who are just leaving now, you'll have to go to a previous video. But everyone have a great day. It's a beautiful day. Who knows how many of these we have left. It's a beautiful day. Have a great day. And most importantly, you pedophiles, kill yourself.